And so
Yeah.
this comes from NPR, and this was just on May 7th, so just Wednesday. And these are the kind of stories that fly under the radar. So I'm really glad we're spending a little attention on this. House Republicans approve amendment authorizing the sale of federal lands. So this is thousands of acres of federal public land in Nevada and Utah, two states where the federal government owns most of the land that has long been at the forefront of a controversial movement to cede control to private entities. Once again, the privatization angle of this just rears its ugly head. The House Natural Resources Committee approved the amendment late Tuesday night. I heard at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
after previously indicating federal land sales wouldn't be included. So they lied in this reconciliation bill. Most of the proposed land sales or exchanges appear to be aimed at building affordable housing on U.S. Forest Service and Bureau of Land Management land outside Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, in a fast-growing southwestern Utah. And so people were saying that this is because of the difficulties trying to manage growing populations. Wow. The fact that they did this late at night without anybody really knowing that they were going to do this, and the fact that they lied about this, I want to know who's behind this, because this feels very fishy to me that this would happen. And the idea that they could just take public lands that belong to all of us and sell them to
Yeah.
the highest bidder in the name of affordable housing, which we all know that's not where this is going to land.
No,
It
it's not.
seemed disgusting to me and so offensive, especially to so many marginalized communities, and in particular to indigenous communities, when we're talking about deportation and taking American citizens off of American soil and deporting people for having opinions about government as they should, and then at the same time selling off our public parks. And this is the same group of people that is talking constantly about, this is our land, go back to your land, but then you're going to sell our land? So wait, what? So this all comes down to money, I guess. Silly me.
And, the funny thing about it is it's not just money. It's about whose money and where that money's going, right?
Period.
Because the U.S. government actually takes in a huge profit from public lands every year. I think the number is somewhere to the tune
Yes.
of $47 billion a year goes when you think about all the income that is generated from our public parks. And I
Mm.
think the operating budget somewhere around $3 billion a year. So it is a massive gain for the country at large. That's all tax revenue that comes in. That money would not be chipped away. It'll be
Wow.
privatized. So what else is new, right? So trying to find different ways to take public tax dollars that would go to the government and concentrate them amongst billionaires, which is, classic MO for this. But, the thing about it is I live in Montana. This
Yeah.
is a huge talking point here in this state. And you'd be
Mm.
surprised. Republican voters here in the state, that's the one thing that there is a true bipartisan consensus here in Montana, that everyone wants public lands to stay in public hands. That's the phrase that everyone uses.
Yeah.
And it is a rallying cry for anyone who comes to this state and talks about selling off public lands is immediately ostracized. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to hear anything from them. It's nice that there is actually some issues left that we can all agree on. And so I know for a fact that the Republican administration can't go out and say that their voters actually are for this, because there's no way in hell their voters are for this. This is where people go hiking. This is where people go fishing. This is where people go hunting, camp. So you can't sit here and say that anyone actually wants this. And we know for a fact this is going to be for affordable housing. I mean, let's just stop talking about that whatsoever. Every time that we see projects for affordable housing, ask yourself, how much affordable housing actually comes from these anyway? And not to mention the fact that we already have enough housing in this country to make sure that everyone is housed already. So
Period.
It is all a joke to me. Natalie, it's all a joke to me. I know for a fact this is just another opportunity for billionaires to make more profit off of money that originally was going to the public.
Desmond, offline, when we were discussing our topics, you said to me, I don't know if I'm going to have much to say about this. You certainly had a lot to say about it. I think it sparked something in you. Maybe it's that Montana air.
It's all in there. It's all in there. It's just, it's hard. It's hard for me to take them seriously. I think in these conversations, it's hard for me not to keep saying kind of like the same 2 or 3 points, but it really is what it comes down to, though. We are seeing an administration who is just trying to take from all of us and concentrate wealth and resources amongst the few. That is the giant connective thread amongst almost all of these stories. And every time you get out of line, they want to smack you with some kind of authoritarian crackdown. Like that is the giant connective tissue between all of these things.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with this idea of connectivity. And that's why I love having these conversations, because what we're
Yeah.
talking about, it may all seem like different stuff. And you may feel like, I don't know all the details on that. It doesn't matter because the threads are all the same. It's
Yeah.
where do we want power and control to be concentrated? Do we want it to be spread diversely among the people, or do we want it to be concentrated into the hands of a few billionaires and some bought and paid for um, dictator wannabes who are going to take and take and take from us?
Right.
And that's why it always goes back to this idea that the government belongs to us because it is of us. And so for people that say, oh, I don't get involved in politics, well, baby, it's involved in you, from
Yeah.
everything that you do, from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, the air you breathe, the food you eat, the way you communicate, everything is political because everything has been made, the decisions have been made around those issues. So you got to get involved. And so there's going to be issues that you are going to feel passionate about. And I encourage you to step into those spaces and actually act within your local community, get involved on a board, join a charitable organization, or run for a local office. So that's my little stump speech there. But there are